Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to War in the Pacific, Admirals Edition, our play-by-email game against XTRG. In today's episode, we're moving further into February of 1942. We should get to February 7th of 42, which will be our one-year anniversary of the game in terms of, well, I guess not 1 year, I guess I should say 3-month anniversary. We've done December, January, and now started February, so I guess that's 2 full months. I can't do math. But anyway, we're about to start our 3rd full month of the game, and we're closing in on our 1-year real-life anniversary of the game. And it's been a lot of fun so far. XTRG has been driving south into the South Pacific, threatening the Fiji line, taking New Caledonia and breaching the Fiji line, and threatening the east coast of Australia. Meanwhile, actions in China are continuing to be intense. He's bombarding the Chinese coast at Wangchao. He's making moves on the Chinese city of Changsha. And it's overall a pretty interesting campaign in China, while he also starts to move into the Dutch East Indies, moving toward the island of Celebes, as well as taking most of New Guinea's coast so far, and potentially moving on Port Moresby here soon as well, based off of just sort of the logical progression of some of his moves. Ambon is sort of the fortress in the eastern Dutch East Indies. That has not yet fallen, but he is making amphibious landings all over the Dutch East Indies, indicating an increased tempo of his movements, perhaps recognizing that he has not been moving fast enough to conquer the territories he needs to conquer if he hopes to win this conflict. You can see here we're moving into the AM phase here. We're through the night phase. There were multiple landings in different bases, and now we're moving into the AM phase. Some additional bombardments here at Soryang, landings at Pari Pari, at Wewak, all along the Dutch East Indies frontier. Okay, so some anti-submarine activities here. Not a lot's happened so far. Our destroyers that we moved out from Pago Pago, we had some intelligence about a Japanese submarine operating around here, and the intelligence appears to be correct, and we're dropping depth charges on the I-21. We're claiming just 1 hit, so probably no serious damage, but at the very least we are hindering his operations of that sub, and we have effectively used the intelligence that was in the SIGINT report against him. Although there was no decisive result from it, it's still pretty cool to see, hey, you have an intelligence report that this is going to happen, then you move troops to that exact spot, and hey, look at that, you are, effectively hitting him with submarines here. Also looks like there's some GM3, GM4s off the northern coast of Australia, so perhaps he has naval bombers in the Dutch East Indies now. We did know he had bombers at various bases. I think the question is whether they're ready for anti-shipping raids or not. Additional recon all across the map, too much to really keep track of. And so we'll see what really happens here. Let's see if we can fast forward a little bit. Some bombing raids here over Bataan. That's to be expected. Some damaged Japanese aircraft. That's to be expected. A few supply hits. Planes are bombing from 17,000 feet, presumably to minimize damage to flak. Meanwhile, bombing on Wangchao here without fighter escort. I've been really tempted for a few turns to move some Flying Tigers in here and maybe get a lucky intercept against him, but just haven't done it yet. The main risk is if he launches an attack while our planes are there and takes the base, then we lose the entire unit. Meanwhile, he's also continuing to bomb Singapore here. We don't have any fighters over the base, so nothing protecting them there. We have a large fighter and bomber force here launching an attack against the Royal Thai Infantry Division here to the east of Pegu. You can see we have multiple escorts as well as bombers going in here, just mainly trying to do some damage to the Japanese troops that are hopefully out of supply and in the middle of a hostile jungle here. It doesn't look like they have a lot of flak shooting back, so that's good. Still waiting on anything else. All right, so 32 B-5N-1 Kate bombers are attacking our cruiser formation, which got within 2 hexes, so within about 80 miles of his carrier task force so far. They are bombing them from the air, but again, doesn't appear to be any torpedoes here. They're dropping 250-kilogram bombs here. It looks like 1 went into the Exeter. They're trying to bomb some destroyers here. Yeah, Cornwall. All right, so let's just fast forward through that. 32 bombers. So that's quite a few sorties against his ability to support. One of his bombers was damaged by flak. The Diane took a bomb, and the Exeter took a bomb. Other than that, no real serious damage. Even that didn't look too serious. Each one of them taking a 250-kilogram bomb. Both should be able to survive that. We'll probably pull them back to Perth, though, if we don't end up running into him before the end of the turn. Just not worth the risk of him bringing those battleships down that we saw bombarding bases in the Dutch East Indies. I don't know where he'd resupply them, but he certainly could bring them down. Or if he still has battleships with his carrier group. We haven't actually spotted the carrier group, although I suspect he doesn't, just because we saw like 4 or 5 battleships all concentrated in one area. It's unlikely that he has them that plus 2 battleships with the carriers, like I think we originally spotted a few months back. All right, so continuing through the turn, another air raid here, another 29 Kates here are bombing our cruisers. We'll see what happens here. It looks like we've still 80 miles away, so we haven't closed any closer. Another bomb at the Diane, so she might be in some trouble, actually. Multiple bombs into the Diane. We may lose a light cruiser here in our effort to try and close with his carrier task force here. Further bombers coming in here on the Exeter, which is not on fire, so the Exeter took 1 bomb a few turns ago. Or not a few turns ago, a few raids ago. But she looked like she was okay. She's not on fire in this raid. Another bomb goes into the Exeter here on this strike. Let's go ahead and fast forward here. 3 bombs into the Diane. She's suffering heavy damage. I think we're going to lose her. 2 bombs into the heavy cruiser Cornwall. She's a heavy cruiser. She should be able to survive that. The Exeter took 1 more bomb, and the Caledon took a bomb. Meanwhile, another raid of 2 Kates flying out here against AMCs. Ship's dead in the water. Allows the Kates to hit her with a 250-kilogram bomb and obliterator. So the 2 planes flew a sortie. 1 of them hit their target. Is that the big event for this turn here? Looks like it. Then looks like that's the end of the air phase. We're moving into the ground combat phase here. Japanese delivered attack at Swing Kang here on the western coast of Borneo. We don't have enough forces to resist against a Japanese infantry regiment here. And it does look like Swing Kang has fallen to the Japanese pretty easily. We lost 1,406 men, 4 units retreated, no one was destroyed, 2 vehicles lost, 13 guns lost, 12 engineers, 34 non-combatant squads, and 25 infantry squads. He didn't lose anything destroyed, although a little bit of disruption. He took Manawar here on the northwestern coast of New Guinea. We're bombarding him at Ambien. He's probably going to need to reinforce there. It looks like he just has an understrength brigade, and we're bombarding his troops there. Japanese deliberate attack at Bola. Not to be confused with Ebola. Japanese take the base. It was undefended. And that's going to do it for the turn. So let's go ahead and fast forward through all of this, and then we'll jump into our turn here and see what it looks like. All right, and we're back. We're taking a look here at the Chinese theater first. I took a look at Changsha. Not much has changed. I think our assault values recovered by about 40 or 50, but not really tons changed. Wangkao continues to get bombarded by Japanese troops, but it actually hasn't really impacted the assault values all that much. The all-important 100th Chinese Corps is still in relatively good shape. If he ever brings any real serious force to bear, he can easily trounce us there, but he hasn't yet, and thus far things are holding steady, at least until he attacks again. I did also look at the entrenchment levels. It's still at level 1 fortification, but they are 57% of the way completed to level 2. Changsha, meanwhile, is, I think, 16% on the way back to level 5. What were they at? Level 5, I think? They're at 4 now. They were at 5. So after 4 or 5 days of calm, they're up to 16%. Hopefully that can get higher before he decides to launch another bloody assault, but we'll see. He's pretty aggressive, so that assault could really come at any time. Meanwhile, no real indication of a flanking maneuver here close in on the border. He's got 1 unit to the west, which I think we can stop even if it's a full-blown division, but we haven't seen anything further than that try to flank to the west. Meanwhile, no indication he's trying to flank to the north through like Yichang or anything like that. And we have reasonably strong forces everywhere, except for perhaps Chang'an if he tries to cut from supplies and move directly west from Hankow, crossing the river into our rear. That would seem unlikely. Meanwhile, in Nanning, I'm kind of surprised he didn't launch an attack there to finish the city off. We were down to level 1 fortification. Well, actually, it looks like we got back to level 1 fortifications. We were at 0, but we only have 29 assault value defending against a much larger force of his. But he didn't make a move, so the good news for us there is that we've got 3 Chinese corps that are on the way, and all of them presumably will arrive this turn. Hopefully, he doesn't get to launch his attack, or he does, and then he finds 3 corps waiting in dug-in positions, and he gets slaughtered, and then we can counterattack and drive him back. Speaking of counterattacking and driving back, if we move over to Burma, we can see here that the Indian Brigade here, the 16th Indian Brigade, has arrived to the east of Pegu. There is 1 Royal Thai Infantry Division there, 46 guns and 6,000 or so men. They do have more men and more guns than us, but the last time we fought them, we were successful in a shock attack in driving them back. So my hope is that these Indian troops will have the same success and will drive this Royal Thai Division into the mountains toward Chiang Mai and further disrupt his operations in Southeast Asia. Singapore, not much has changed. Bataan, admittedly, not much has changed. I think the supplies dropped from 38,000 to 39,000 to 38,000, but overall things there remain basically what they were. Swing King, I thought he took the base. Am I looking at the wrong turn here? I could have sworn the replay said he took the base, didn't it? I'm confused. Let's go to the combat results. Bola, Ambon, Swing Kang. That was an Allied bombardment attack. Oh. I guess I got that. No, Japanese deliberate attack. Okay, never mind. I guess I misread that result. Somehow we hung in there. Okay, so we held and they didn't reduce the fort level and they only had 1 to 2 odds, and okay, well, our troops will all be out of supply soon, but at least that worked. Meanwhile, there was something I missed. I didn't see it anywhere in the reports of the battle, but Japanese GM-3 Nell bombers or something with torpedoes hit the Sumatra here. It's up to 56 float damage. It's a light cruiser here. It's a Dutch light cruiser. It is worth 27 points. And it was hit by Japanese aerial torpedoes. We're trying to get it out to Australia, but it was hit in this area, so that tells us he's got Nell bombers in the area. Because that's the only thing he has that could reach there. He might actually have them based off of Kopang. I'm not quite sure where they were based out of. But if I look at combat results, do we see that? I didn't see the Sumatra get bombed in the replay that I watched, which is kind of confusing. Because I fast-forwarded through some stuff, but I don't remember seeing it reporting any kind of attack there. They had to be GM3 or GM4s, I would assume. Oh, I guess I did miss it. Here it is. GM4 bombers, 5 were damaged, 15 attacked. They attacked against the Sumatra, the Krakatoa, and the Gudin Lu, 2 cruiser mine layers and a light cruiser. Cruiser mine layer hit by torpedo sunk. Sumatra hit by torpedo not sunk. So I guess I mixed that up with the attacks on the other cruisers of ours. Second raid finished off the other cruiser mine layer and added heavy damage to the Sumatra. So the Sumatra's probably gone. We're going to try and get her out to Australia, but most likely she's a goner. In range of Japanese bombers here. I hope these guys can get to Darwin here before. Let's speed them up. Maybe they can get into port. Maybe Darwin is safe. I don't know. I might have to. That's actually a good point there. We don't really know where the bombers were based out of, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Kopang. And so we probably need to get all of our ships here out of Darwin, because it's just not safe. So go ahead and move them at flank speed, get them out to the east coast of Australia, get those 2 light cruisers out of danger. Meanwhile, this tanker is making a sprint for Darwin. We'll see if she makes it. She's already been spotted. We might lose her. What's her, is she valuable? Not super valuable. Meanwhile, our cruisers to the west here, I was right about the, I guess it was the Capertown? No, the Diane didn't really take any damage at all. So I guess the battle results were maybe a little bit misleading with some fog of war in play here. But the Exeter took a fair bit of damage, 27 float, 45 system. The Cape Town took 32 system, 15 float. I really don't want to lose the Exeter. But what we are going to do is we are going to go ahead and we're going to pull these guys out. Return them down to Perth. We're going to try and flank speed them, although any ship with like float damage like that, it's a little bit risky to flank speed them. But we're going to try and flank speed them to get them out ahead of the rest of the lesser damaged cruisers, which should eat some of the bombs. And if I take 20 or 30 more system damage, as long as I get out of the way, I think I'm okay. It looks like his carriers are moving northeast in this direction. Additionally, one other sighting, which is a little bit concerning, is we sighted supposedly 0 fighter, 0 bomber, 6 auxiliary, which tells me this report of 2 enemy carriers is bogus. But we are reporting 2 battleships moving northwest, so probably trying to intercept the Sumatra. It could be 4 battleships. Again, 2 battleships are here, but then the report of 2 carriers is bogus if the fighters, bombers, and auxiliary is wrong. So something is wrong. Either he's got more fighters and bombers and auxiliary than reported, or he's got more heavy ships that look like carriers to reconnaissance of ours, but don't look like they have planes, which to me means maybe 2 battleships, 2 heavy cruisers, or maybe they're the 4 battleships that we saw bombarding Ambon, whatever it is. They're in that vicinity. I'm switching these guys to defend because I don't want to waste more ammo bombarding. I'm going to do the same thing for Swing Kang. I have no desire to waste ammo bombarding Japanese troops there. I hate that it auto sets your defenders to bombard. That's kind of annoying. But in any event, we're going to try and get these cruisers out to the south to Perth. We're going to go ahead and try and get this cruiser to Northern Australia, although I don't think she'll make it. It'll be interesting to reveal if there are Japanese battleships in this area, if they engage. Meanwhile, cruiser layer Regal is on its way to Perth. Doesn't have enough fuel to get there. Our carriers up here still haven't linked up because these guys are out of fuel. These guys are working their way down. So that is what it is. Repulse is 89 days away from being repaired. I took a look at her. Not a lot of other changes in this particular turn in terms of India or China. I did some logistical stuff, but nothing I really want to call out. I guess the main thing is the combat engineers have landed at Auckland. The 34th Combat Engineer Regiment has arrived in full in Auckland to bring some additional strength and engineers to the base there. We're going to hopefully accelerate some of the fortification building. Suva, meanwhile, already a level 3 fort, about halfway the way to level 4. Nadi, meanwhile, is a level 2, almost to level 3. Probably will get there in the next day or two. Pago is a level 3, working toward level 4. Almost unloading some fuel there. They got good supply. Suva has good supply. Nadi has supply drawn from Suva. A couple of destroyers operating in this vicinity. Why are they going over there? Didn't they just run into a Japanese submarine over here? Maybe that was where the report was. I'm not sure. We've got some tankers and stuff down here in the south. They're returning back to Los Angeles. They may not have enough fuel to do that, but we'll have to refuel them on the way. I think we've given them orders to do that. Some additional tankers down here on the way. They have fuel. Our carriers, meanwhile, are moving here toward Australia or New Zealand. They still haven't gotten to Wellington. They're on the way, but they still haven't gotten there yet. Another day or two before they get there. Meanwhile, these guys are going to Wellington from Pearl Harbor with fuel for the carrier task force. They're way behind because they're slower. I did divert, so I have some troops that are on the way to... They were on the way to Auckland. There was one task force that had the 2nd Marine Tank Battalion, it had the 2nd Marine Regiment, the 2nd Marine Paratroopers, and it also had a USN Base Force unit, the 101st. We are not that 101st. It also had, as I said, the 2nd USMC Tank Battalion. I created a new task force in this group, in the Tank Battalion, to move them to Auckland, because Auckland has the port facilities to unload the tanks from the ships. The other guys here, the Marine Regiment, the Base Force, and the Paratroopers, are actually diverting to Vavu, which is an island that's located between Pago and located between Suva. And the reason for that is Vavu currently is only a level 1 port, but it has the capacity to hold a level 4 airfield and a level 3 port. Both of those are important. Additionally, it's strategically located between Pago and between Suva, so it'll allow us to easily shift aircraft back and forth between these islands. Some of these aircraft don't actually have drop tanks, and even though it doesn't look like a super long range, it kind of is. Additionally, this could be another target of the Japanese should they decide to eventually make a move against the Fiji line. They kind of already have here in the west toward New Caledonia, but if they try and extend that east and decide that going south toward New Zealand or west toward Australia is not feasible in the short term, which frankly I don't think it is, if he's trying to isolate Fiji, or Pago and really get astride our supply lines to New Zealand and Australia, and to really potentially strangle Suva. A key base for him is going to be Vavu. The other key base could be Tongatapu, both of which can hold a level 4 airfield. My main stand is going to be at Vavu because it is slightly closer to Pago. It has one additional port capacity, which is important. And it is, I think, just an easier place to get to and to defend. Additionally, it's within close enough range of Tongatapu, or however you pronounce this, Tongatapu, that we can reinforce Vavu from Pago and Suva to pound any landing that he has at Tapatapu to smithereens. So the plan is going to be to add a new additional base here at Vavau here with some Marines and some base force elements, etc. So this is going to be our new base here in the Fiji line, sort of a supporting base for both these two, and we're going to start building it up as well. We've also already designated the Canadians for one of these islands, either Penryu or Christmas Island, so they'll get in there to strengthen the eastern portion of the base. That's the main strategical development. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with his ships up here, whether they continue south toward Perth, or actually not even continue, whether they divert south to try and chase us toward Perth, whether the battleships engage our light cruiser and reveal what they really have. Not a lot we can do about all these landings here in the Dutch East Indies other than to say, like, hey, we're losing a lot of these bases. He's got troops ashore at Soryang. We've got a detachment there already ordered to defend. We've already got our troops in Ambion holding as best they can. It looks like we're going to lose Babbo, which is an oil-producing facility. Not very much oil, but some. And presumably they're going to begin expanding their position on Timor. They've already brought in aircraft there to support that. We are evacuating some ships from Perth. We've already evacuated the bulk of our ships from Oosthaven. All these guys who are close to Oosthaven are diverting away from Oosthaven. These guys are heading toward Colombo. Hopefully they don't get hit by enemy air. The repair ship Castor, and then the submarine tenders Holland and Zurich, however you pronounce that. Are they currently detected? They are not currently detected, so hopefully they can get away from this area without the Japanese spotting them. Not a lot else going on here. Some of our harbor defense ships got to Palembang, etc. Palembang's fortifications are currently being built up. They're at level 2. We're working toward level 3. We've got some aircraft up here, some Buffalo up here that are going to have to go to Port Blair because they can't reach Rangoon. We're ordering the bombing of the TIE division to continue this next turn, at least until we hopefully drive that TIE division off, and then after that we'll probably stop that. These Aerocobras, where do they need to go, by the way? Where's the rest of their unit? Singapore, Surabaya, Djambi. The bulk of them are at Djambi, which is over here. Yeah, I don't know. What's the fatigue of these guys over here? 14. I mean, he's not going to take Rangoon this turn, so I guess we'll move them back to Singapore. They'll combine. Their fatigue is 14. We'll do no long-range cap. We'll set all these guys to 100% cap. We'll set them to 26,000 to try and come down on him and see if we can get a little bit of if we can bounce him with our 11 aircraft here. 6 Aerocobras there will need to be repaired. We also have all of these guys set to long-range cap as well, so they may play in the action. Some of these guys are still in Surabaya, but they can't really get there or anything like that. Yeah, so I think that about does it for that part of the turn. Where are these Buffaloes going? Where's the rest of their unit? Batavia and Palembang. All right, so they're here all by themselves. They're going to go to Palembang to join up with the rest of their squadron. I think that's part of our process of moving them north to Sumatra. I already kind of went through the rest of my turn. Not a lot else to look at this turn, so I think this will be a little bit of an abbreviated episode. But yeah, that's the situation right now. We'll see how things play out going forward. I hope you guys are enjoying this episode. Sorry for a little bit of a brief episode. I didn't live stream this one because I have some personal stuff going on this weekend. I'm going to be out of town for most of the weekend, or if not out of town, unavailable. So you're getting this one on Friday, and you probably won't see another one till Monday at the earliest. Hope you guys are enjoying the video and the series as always, and hope you guys have a great weekend. And yeah, one other thing I guess to call out, probably should have called this out at the beginning of the video. We are reshuffling the Rule the Waves collaboration series. We got a big new participant, potentially. We're trying to nail that down. And in that event, I won't probably be leading off. Might be Tortuga, or it might be this new participant. We're still trying to nail down some of the final info around that. So you'll see more about that when it's ready. With that being said, I am going to go ahead and sign off here for the night. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.